the lid came off one of the most controversial subjects of recent years. It was the MIG-15, the red fighter interceptor surrounded by an aura of fact and fiction. Now we know about the MiG, what it can do and what it can't do. This is the story. The MiG landed at Kimpo Air Base at Seoul, Korea on Monday, September 21st. Its North Korean pilot collected $100,000 posted by the military for any pilot who could successfully deliver a MiG into our hands. At first, the plane was dismantled for shipment to the United States. But plans changed, and the MiG was taken to Okinawa instead. To prevent violating terms of the armistice, American officials offered to deliver it back to its rightful owners, but no takers came forward. The following Monday, at Kadena Air Force Base on Okinawa, the MiG was tugged out of the hangar ready to fly. Early in the morning, a plane load of Air Force specialists had arrived from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to conduct flight tests on the MiG. Major General Albert Boyd, commander of the Wright Air Development Center, was one of the trio of pilots who would fly the MiG. Captain H.E. Tom Collins, also of WADC, and Major C.E. Chuck Yeager of the Flight Test Center completed the trio. Air intelligence people already knew what to put in the plane, standard JP-1 fuel. Oil was standard Air Force 1010, but the hydraulic fluid was a mixture of glycerin, castor oil, and water. In the cockpit, Russian language instrument labels were translated to English, and the pilots familiarized themselves with instrument placement. More than a score of technicians from Air Technical Intelligence Center and WADC checked over the craft prior to its initial flight. The aircraft's communist markings were changed, and every inch of the plane was inspected to make sure the MiG was structurally sound, and to ensure that the plane had not been booby-trapped. From the rear, the MiG's negative wing dihedral can be seen easily. Notice the large size of the rudder. Wing fences act as flow dividers to improve low-speed handling characteristics. Since the MiG's rightful owners might demand the plane back at any time, flight testing was begun immediately. The Jet Assist starting unit was standard Air Force equipment, the only modification being a specially made adapter plug. Metric system calibrated instruments were replaced by standard Air Force counterparts. An accelerometer was added since the MiG had no provision for one. An external free air temperature gauge was also added for test purposes. Later, a gun camera was rigged to take pictures through the gun sight during firing passes. Preliminary engine run and taxi tests were begun on the evening of the 28th in spite of rainy weather. During these, the braking system was checked. The MiG has no steerable nose wheel, but instead depends on differential braking of the main wheels to turn. Brakes are pneumatically operated from a compressed air bottle. No compressor is carried, hence the supply of braking air is extremely limited. The compressed air is also designed as an emergency system to operate the flaps and landing gear. Captain Collins climbed into the plane the following afternoon to become the first American to fly a MiG-15. Ammunition can be fired steadily for only 6 seconds, as opposed to 14 seconds with the F-86. During flight tests, several air-to-water strafing runs were made to check gun sight accuracy, as well as static firing tests into a fixed target. It is interesting to note that throughout the performance tests, data obtained compared with uncanny accuracy with information previously acquired on the MiG by Air Technical Intelligence Center. The flights made by General Boyd and Major Yeager added to the knowledge that was piling up. A series of high-altitude dives at high Mach numbers showed the MiG became difficult to control as speed increased, and at Mach .94, the aircraft became uncontrollable, pulling out only on reaching denser air. The top speed of the MiG was slightly less than the F-86 at all altitudes, although the MiG's rate of climb exceeds the F-86 at all altitudes. The MiG climbs to 45,000 feet in 9 minutes, while the F-86 takes 13 minutes. During dives, the F-86 is completely controllable at speeds which render the MiG control systems useless. During an altitude test, the MiG was climbed to 55,000 feet, while the F-86 could reach only 51,000 feet. In general, MiG handling characteristics at all speeds are not so good as the F-86 because of the MiG's small aileron surface and lack of elevator effectiveness. The MiG is most effective as a combat fighter at lower speeds, where its lower thrust loading allows greater maneuverability. Pilot protection on the MiG consists of an armor-plated ejection seat back of adequate thickness and the usual bulletproof glass. Fuel tanks, located in the fuselage, were not self-sealing. Oxygen and cabin temperature